Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, we are going to make sure and have it completely covered. Anyway, welcome aboard Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Upstate New York, that is. Welcome aboard Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Welcome aboard Bruce Pollard, my brother from Kingwood, Texas. Welcome aboard AVQ, El Senor Michael Rutnin from Brooklyn, New York. I don't see Yvette Avery Herod as she usually starts it all off. She gets here very early. Yvette, where are you? You are missing, Yvette. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue. Bridge MCP starts the show. She says, judge rules against RFK Jr. in fight to be on New York's ballot, says he's not a state resident, Albany, New York. A judge ruled Monday that the independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name should not appear on New York's ballot, saying that he falsely claimed a New York residence on nominating positions despite living in California. The scion of famed Democratic political dynasty vowed to appeal, dismissing the ruling as partisan. If the judge's decision is upheld, it would not only keep Kennedy from the ballot in New York, but could also lead to challenges in other states where he used an address in New York City's suburbs to gather signatures. Egberto in New York, Judge Cristina Riva concluded in her 34-page decision that that the rented bedroom Kennedy claimed as his residence in New York wasn't a bona fide and legitimate residence, but merely a sham address that is used, a sham address that he assumed for the purpose of maintaining his voter registration and furthering his political candidacy. You know what? I normally want everybody on the ballot, but in this case, again, you got to follow the rules. You have got to follow the rules. All right. Bridge also says, Egberto, Yvette, UAW files federal labor charges against Donald Trump and Elon Musk after threatening workers on X interview. Egberto, UAW files federal labor charges against Trump and Elon Musk after threatening workers on X view. Oh, good. United Auto Workers Union on Tuesday filed federal labor charges against former President Donald Trump and Tesla CEO Elon Musk for threatening to intimidate workers who go on strike. During the interviews on X Monday night with Musk, who is also the principal owner of the social media platform, the pair discussed a potential role that Musk in Trump's administration should he get reelected. Trump called Musk the cutter and praised Musk for his anti-union stances. I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone. Every one of you is gone, Trump said. You know, Trump cannot be the smartest cat out there. Think about this. The guy is trying to say that he's a working class guy. He's trying to say he supports the union. While Texas may be a state where people are brainwashed into thinking a union is not a good thing, the rest of the country don't believe that crap. It is amazing. It is amazing how stupid, and I don't use that word frequently, but how stupid Trump really is. All right, Paul Fleming says, here's what we've got to go up against. Former Colorado clerk Tina Peters has been found guilty by a jury on most charges in a breach of her county election computer system. Who does election fraud again? Seems to me on the right. Paul Fleming, last night was another reminder that when billionaires take control of our most vital platforms for communication, it's not a win for free speech. It's a win for oligarchy. But it's deeper than that. I thought the private sector knew how to do things. They couldn't even get a live stream going. So they gave the Harris campaign a chance to troll them. And that is what they did. All right, let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Michael Rodney says, Egberto, please read this out from Paul's article. Paul, the only ones who are a threat to election integrity are those conspiracy nutters who falsely believe that voter fraud is ongoing despite evidence to the contrary. Former Colorado clerk Tina Peters has been found guilty by a jury on most charges in a breach of her county's election computer system. Peters was accused of using someone else's security badge to give an expert affiliated with the Pillow Chief Executive Mike Lindell's access to the Mesa County election system. Prosecutors said she was seeking fame and became fixated on voting problems after becoming involved with those who had questioned the accuracy of the 2020 presidential election results. The case marked the first prosecution of a local election official over a suspected security breach amid the conspiracy theories that swirled around in 2020 election, in heightened concerns over potential insider threats in which rogue election workers sympathetic to partisan lies could use their access and knowledge to launch an attack from within. Peters was convicted of 3 counts of attempting to influence public servant, 1 count of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, and first-degree official misconduct, violation of duty, and failing to comply with the Secretary of State. Tom C. says RFK Jr. is not a resident of planet Earth. I like that, Tom. All right, Paul Fleming Sr. says the Arizona for Abortion Access Act will go before voters this election cycle after organizers shattered the record for number of valid signatures gathered for ballot initiative. Exactly, and they'll win and they'll bring more voters out. And to which it's time for me to make my statement. Remember, anybody voting for Donald Trump is admitting that they care nothing about the morals, and also specifically or telling, if they have children, telling their children immorality is okay. If they have sons, grabbing women, they're telling their sons it's okay to grab women by their private parts. It's okay to abuse women. It's okay to sexually abuse women. That is what any voter for Trump is telling their children. And likewise, they're telling their daughters they are of lesser value. Any person voting for Trump is telling their kids they're telling their daughters they are of lesser value. Do not forget that, and do not allow others to change that narrative. It is a fact-based narrative. You support someone as derelict as Donald Trump, you're telling your kids that behavior is okay. Continuing, in Congress, from Paul Fleming, in Congress won't shut big money out of our politics, then voters should shut out big money's candidacy. Repost, we can do that. And we can do that. Melanie Keelan says, hi. Let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming also said, do you agree that property taxes should be eliminated and that 65 or so are older? Yeah, we got a call. Ray Brackens. Hey, Ray, hold 1 second before I clean up the audio so that we don't get any feedback. Let me go ahead and do that right this very minute. Okay. All right. Brother Brackens, talk to me.
Testing. How we sound?
You sound perfect, brother. You always sound perfect. Talk to me.
Oh, well, first of all, Egberto, I just want to take a moment to say, thank you for, I wasn't a good student of math when I was younger, but, I think to myself every time I see you come on here that I think about the 60 plus quality hours of airtime that you give us every month, not to even factor in all of the countless hours of research and editing and cutting that you do. So, that's a lot, and you do it all by yourself. You don't have any fancy assistants. You don't have any staff. You do it all by yourself. So I would be a fool to think that I could just step in and do what you do. I have a few talking points here and there, but, to have it backed by the quality that you have, I think I would have to, take a little while to build that operation. But I know you can't do it forever, but I appreciate you while you're doing it. And I just want to say that, for the moment.
Brother, you don't know what that means to me. I really appreciate that. It really is a whole lot of work. It really is 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you know what? Like I said, I enjoy it because I feel like I'm doing something that is necessary. I feel that I'm doing so. I want to leave my daughter. I want to leave you. You're a young man as well. I want to leave the younger folks a better place. I have a certain guilt for being I call myself a boomer X. In other words, I'm on the cusp of X and boomer. And we have done a very poor job in what we have done to support the generation that comes after us. And I feel a responsibility, and I say that from the depths of my heart. I feel a responsibility that we allowed Reagan to create a new system or to modify a system that has screwed us all. And we are partly responsible for that. So this is payback for what we've done. But thank you, my brother. I do appreciate that.
Hey, I mean, it was you were just, an American of the time. You believed in what Americans believed at the time, such as what Mr. Biden believed when he was in Congress, being as long as he was there, from the time he started as a 29-year-old man to the time he ended his career, stepping down from Miss Harris to take the mantle. And I'm going to get off. I didn't want to take too much time. But I want to finish with this. As far as Miss Harris, she's doing a fabulous job, on messaging, and the other side, they're just running around with like chickens with their heads cut off, because now they have to look at the mirror and say, who has the old candidate now? Who has the crazy candidate now? And I'm hearing a lot of reports that Mr. Trump can't keep his flappers shut. And as a matter of fact, there was even some allegation while he was flapping his gums on Twitter with Mr. Elon Musk. A lot of people said it sounded like he didn't have no teeth in his mouth. I think that could be. So he didn't even bother to put his dentures in while he was flapping his gums, literally. But the more he talks, the more he digs the hole. So I say to Mr. former President Trump, keep talking. Stop listening to your advisors. You're only making us look stronger. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, my brother, and thank you for calling in. And you've made my day. I appreciate that what's being done is appreciated. Love you, brother. All right, folks, I have my first video for you. And this is from this morning. A ill-informed MAGA cultist called me this morning, a woman. We get quite a few, and I love them all. I don't say that facetiously. I'm in the stage of my life now where I want to be there for everybody. And I say that I say that honestly. This is not a put on for a program or anything like that. I really want us to make a difference. So I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. All right, let's go to Wendy. Come on in, Wendy.
Hi, how are you doing?
I am doing fine. Talk to me.
I made the mistake of just rolling through my husband's preset channels, and we try to be nonpartisan and listening to the radio and make sure that we're kind of listening to all sides of things. And it sounds like this is very one-sided. I was wondering if just the whole radio station was owned by the left, or just your show.
All right, let me ask you one thing. I'm a very progressive person, but let me ask you, Wendy, is there anything that I say? I don't like when people say the left and right, that sort of stuff, without telling me if there's something that I said that was incorrect.
Okay, you said that you're doing what you can do to, as far as letting people know about Project 2025, which Trump has denounced several times, has said that is the party's, not his plans, okay, and that he's denounced and he is not an extremist. And you said you're doing what you can do. You need to do what you can do to control vis-a-vis KPFT, meaning you're controlling KPFT, you're controlling the message, and you're not sharing the truth.
Okay, great. I'm glad that you said that. Let's talk about that real quick, because I don't have a lot of time. And I hope you listen tomorrow so that you'll get more time. But here's the deal. Trump told you, Ben, I said people like yourself, that he had nothing to do with Project 2025. That is a lie. And I have to come out and tell the truth about all. May I finish? Did I let you speak, my dear friend? Please let me finish now. All right. Everything that he said about that was a lie. And we have the videos where he went to the Heritage Foundation and said the Heritage Foundation is coming up with a conservative plan that we are going to be putting out there. I have the videos that prove that. I am responsible as a truth teller to tell you that. Likewise, everything within that Project 2025 is written for all to see. I have the 925-page script that we can actually say this is not conjecture. So the only thing that you have a problem with is tying Donald Trump to Project 2025. We've already proven that he's tied to Project 2025, given that not only all the people that work for him, but also with his own words. Where do we go on from there, Wendy? You have a choice to either believe what you're seeing or believe what Trump is telling you. And I think if you believe what Trump is telling you, you have defied who Trump has been all of his life. But continue, my friend.
I will tell you that what I believe is I believe what I see. And what I see is what Trump did for 4 years for this country. I believe that I see that Trump supports America. I believe that
Go ahead,
Trump
continue.
Is a Christian that supports family. I believe that Trump is a smart businessman that understands economy. And I believe that I was way better off for the 4 years that he was in office than I have been these last 4 years. And I believe Kamala.
Stop. I get it. We don't have a lot of time, and I need to answer some of those things that you mentioned. It's good that you believe that. Believing something doesn't make it fact. If we look at the actual numbers, the numbers prove everything that diametrically opposed to what you just said. More jobs were created factually under President Biden. More policies came that created jobs. Why many Republican mayors are now supporting the Democratic ticket, because those are the statement of facts. So my question, do you want to just believe, or do you want to have the truth? Do you want to believe, or do you want to feel that belief, or do you want the truth? And what I'm saying is the truth is there for me to show you unadulteratedly. If you want to sit down and go over item for item for whether it is true or not, we can, because the data is there. But you have to want to believe. Okay? Wendy, one quick sentence and I got to go to the other call.
That's what you said. I believe what I see. That's what I believe.
And again, you could not possibly see what isn't true, but we'll talk about that another day. Thank you for calling, Wendy. I just couldn't sit back and let what this young woman had to say about how great it was under Donald Trump, how much better my life was under Donald Trump. Here's the reality, folks. Even if we take out COVID out of the mix, Biden has had a much better performance on jobs than Trump. In fact, Trump is the first president that has left the White House having less jobs than when he came in to the White House. And that's not solely because of COVID, but his performance was well below par of Obama, well below par of Biden, even taking out COVID. When it comes to the economy, the way you measure an economy is what that economy produces, of course. And under Biden, the GDP under Biden far exceeded the GDP under Trump. Again, these are things that I am not saying. These are things you can look up and find in the data. But Trump says my economy is better. The Trump cult, the MAGA cult, says the economy is better. Trump says you're doing better. The Trump cultists, even if they're starving, say, oh, we're doing better. That is a typical cultist behavior that one has to mitigate when we're talking about these particular issues. So again, the economy was not better under Trump. When it comes to crime rate, crime shot up under Trump. That's, again, a statement of fact. Not because Trump is telling you, oh, crime is exploding. Do you have to believe it? Here is the data again. Crime is not exploding. This is what crime rate looks like. And again, it did better under Biden than it did under Trump. When it comes to deficit spending, again, he would say, "Oh, the liberals they spend like crazy." Again, look at the chart. It's not the liberals who are deficit spending. If you look at the chart, you see the deficit going down under Obama. It shot up under Trump, and it starts to go down under Biden again. It is just saying something doesn't make it so. Saying it is so does not make it so. And it is important for us to always be ready to show the facts. Now, the facts, just talking the facts is not enough. People are suffering. People want the inflation is taking a bite out of people. Those are true things. But there are other ways to mitigate that. The inflation wasn't caused by Biden. The inflation was caused by corporate greed, and you can check other videos that I've made that point the exact reason we had inflation. Inflation isn't a magical thing that happens because of government policy. It is something done by corporate sector, and you can look at economists like Richard Wolff and others that would explain that concept. We have to wake up and stop being played by politicians.
We spend a lot.
Yes, we have to wake up and stop being played by these politicians, and a lot of folks are waking up, and a lot of folks are actually also saying, you know what, I am going to support. But before I go there, I tell you what, a lot of folks are starting to wake up. A lot of folks are starting to say, you know what, I just can't do it anymore. I am a conservative. I am a Republican. I cannot fathom voting for a Democrat because they supposedly don't believe in the things I believe in, even though the policies that Democrats support, I'm talking about progressive Democrats now, is what 60 to 80% of the country say that they want. But somehow in the media, the mainstream media, they'll have you believe that progressives are the ones that are out of the mainstream. But you know what? Things are so bad right now based on the potential, the possibility of having a Donald Trump, that when you see David French changes his tune, it means something. It means something. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I hear people talking about, you're not a conservative. It's laughable, because what we're seeing now, we're seeing idol worship for I would say a guy. It's a party now. It's a party. They're not conservative. They're not fiscally conservative. If they lose again this year, here we go. If the question I was going to ask is, if they lose this year, is there a chance that they are going to go back to more tried and true Burkean, Reagan-esque conservative principles? By the way, what you're looking at now, direct from Joe's Twitter account, a little chart I made this morning after reading the op-ed. In blue, that is left-wing, socialist, communist, whatever you want to call him, Bill Ayers-loving, Reverend Wright-loving, left-wing, like Marxist Barack Obama's deficit record. By the way, it goes down. It goes straight down. So all those things Republicans said about him, obviously not true. Now, if you look right after Barack Obama left office, by the way, 4 years pre-COVID, look at deficits under Donald Trump. David, they go straight up. That's not conservative.
One of the things that's happening is you have MAGA has seized control of the Republican Party, intentionally transforming it radically, not just, of course, on a policy basis, but on a character basis, calling the old Republican Party the dead consensus. And if you object to it, they say, well, what happened to you? In other words, they're pulling the party away and accusing anyone who objects to it of being a traitor.
So, David.
Yeah, Willie, look at that.
Yeah, there it is. It's pretty clear, stark in that graphic there. You've got a new piece out for the New York Times, David, titled "To Save Conservatism from Itself, I Am Voting for Harris." In it, David writes this: while there are voters who are experiencing a degree of Trump nostalgia, remembering American life pre-COVID as a time of full employment and low inflation, there is a different and darker story to tell about Trump's first term. Our social fabric frayed. It's not just that abortions increased, the murder rate skyrocketed, drug overdose deaths hit hit new highs. Marriage rates fell and birth rates continued their long decline. Americans ended his term more divided than when it began. I'm often asked by Trump voters, David writes, if I'm still conservative. And I respond that I can't vote for Trump precisely because I am conservative. The only real hope for restoring a conservatism that values integrity, demonstrates real compassion, and defends our foundational constitutional principles isn't to try to make the best of Trump, a man who values only himself. If he wins again, it will validate his cruelty and his ideological transformation of the Republican Party. If Harris wins, the West will still stand against Vladimir Putin, and conservative Americans will have a chance to build something decent from the ruins of a party that was once a force for genuine good in American life. David, let you expand a little bit on that. This is something Joe talks about all the time. I'm still conservative. You guys were just talking about this standing right here. It's the party, the Trumpists, that have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just that the party's changed, but things have changed. So in 2016 and 2020, I voted third party. I wrote in. I could not vote for the Democrat. I definitely was not going to vote for Donald Trump. But there are some things that have changed since 2020. One of them was January 6th, which illustrated the links that Donald Trump would go, the destructive links to our own constitutional order that Donald Trump would go. And then the next year, when Russia invades Ukraine, you see the incredible stakes for the international order, for American national security. And on both of those just paramount issues, Trump is not just on the wrong side in many ways, especially here domestically. He's the instigator of the crisis itself. And so if you're dealing with changed events, I feel like it's incumbent on me to be open to changing my mind on at least one element of my stand. And that is, in this case, to vote for the party that at the very least is going to stand against Russian aggression. And Joe, saying that out loud, that I'm voting against a Republican to make sure that the United States resists Russian aggression is, again, one of those moments where you can't believe how much things have changed.
As David lays out in the piece, the Republican Party now unrecognizable from what it was just a few decades ago in terms of both foreign policy and some matters here at home. But Willie, the great question, the unanswerable question is, what happens next? Even if Donald Trump were to be defeated this fall, does that mean Trumpism? Does that mean the MAGA movement goes away? There are certainly some of the Republican Party who say, yes, we'll be finally rid of him. Let's move on. We'll rebirth this party into something new for 2028. I don't know there's a guarantee of that. He is still going to be the loudest voice in the party, most likely. Certainly his running mate is set up to be a loud voice in his party going forward. The MAGA movement has captured so many state, local officials, state houses, Congress, the House of Republicans, House of Representatives in particular. I don't know that even if Trump were to be defeated in November, that this would be something the party would be able to rid itself of this movement. This is the party right now, the MAGA movement. And it might look a little different. It might have a different name atop of it in 2028. But I don't know that we could just take as faith that it'll go back to what it was.
Yeah, with tens of millions of regular supporters as well on board. As long as we're inside the editorial pages, the Wall Street Journal, Jerry Baker writing this morning, Trump is looking like a loser again, talking about the press conference last week that he calls false, obtuse, and lunatic.
False, obtuse, and lunatic. That is a perfect description of who Donald Trump is. And to think that there are some who, knowing this, I don't care how delusional or cultish you are, you cannot see this man and not understand that that he has no place being president of the United States. His past ill-conceived doings is enough to disqualify him, and that there are people knowing these particular defects. There are people with children who tell their children they must do right, tell their children they must be moral, tell their children they must treat women with respect, tell their daughters that they must cherish who they are, they must have pride in themselves, they must allow nobody to take advantage of them. Tell the American people that, yes, we believe in honesty, yes, we believe in freedom, yes, we believe in all these things, and to think there are some who will still vote for this man. Remember what I said yesterday. If that were to happen, the decay in America would be virtually complete. And it would be not physically, but it would be the end of who America is. And I tell you why. Because the first time Trump got elected, we looked like the fools. The rest of the world, I know most Americans are centralized on America only. The only thing that matters is what we're saying in America. This 5% of the world is the only thing that matters to most Americans. But there's a bigger world where there are 95% of the people on the outside. 95% to 97% of the rest of the world lives outside of America. Many of us don't give a damn what they believe. They are willing to forgive us for having given the world Trump the first time as an excuse for the turmoil, for the things that were happening in America. You do it again, we lose the world. I repeat, you do it again, we lose the world. Luckily, I think the table has turned. And just like I said many months ago, I am still expecting a landslide from municipal to state to federal. And I see the materialization of that landslide in the making. Only one thing can stop it. And that is something Democrats know how to do very well. And that is to screw up a train. That is to put logs in front of the train. That is to make sure that we don't, that for the fear that some of the corporatist Democrats may get, that, oh my God, the progressive mantra is moving. And if they put a barrier in front of what we need to do for this landslide, it's on them as well. Anyway, let's see what we got here from my great people in the chat. Paul says Vice President Kamala Harris has backed the elimination of taxes on tips for hospitality and service workers, endorsing a policy that suggests by former Donald Trump. No. Do not, my brother Paul Fleming, love you, but don't equate what Kamala's tip policy said with what Donald Trump said. I'm glad you brought that up, because this morning I did a piece on that on KPFT as well. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let's see. Here we go. Bingo. Let me tell you something. I was watching some news, and Trump is in a tizzy. Kamala Harris stole his idea. That's what he says. You remember he went out and he said, hey, tip workers. Notice how he said it. It's important. We are going to give tip workers. We're not going to tax tip workers tips. And, Kamala then came out and said, hotel and service workers tips will not be taxed. And we are going to work for an increase in the minimum wage, make it a living wage. And to that answer, Trump said, you stole my idea. And I need to really show you all what often isn't covered. Notice what Trump said. Tip workers will not get their tips taxed. In other words, anyone receiving tips, your tips are untaxable right now. Kamala said distinctly that those hotel and restaurant workers, certain level, they will have their tips not taxed. Does it sound like the same? It may sound like the same, but it isn't the same. The reality is, when Trump said tips workers wouldn't have to pay taxes on tips, he left the door open for, stock brokers. He left the door open for people who run hedge funds to convert some of their earnings into tips. And they are the ones who would profit. Because guess what, my dear brothers and sisters? If you're a tip worker, most tip workers already don't pay taxes because they don't reach the income threshold to pay taxes. So when a politician tells a tip worker, I am not going to charge you taxes on tips, for most workers, they'll say, I wasn't paying taxes on it anyway, because I make so little, I don't pay income taxes on that
tip. I don't pay income taxes on that tip. But you know who will? The stockbroker and the hedge fund manager. When he goes ahead and says, well, this type of income is a tip, classified as a tip, it could mean billions of dollars, and he pays no tips. Robert Reich pointed that out when he came, and he said, nope, Kamala Harris didn't steal his idea at all. Again, we have to, it takes a little bit more than just listen to the voices of politicians to make up your mind about issues. You have to see how those issues that they talk about is actually transferred into policy, and how those policies are then used as loopholes to get things done. So again, folks, when you're out there promoting the progressive message and somebody says, look at how they are going to follow the tip model, the progressives are following the tip model, remind them that no, progressives protected the working class. Progressives said, no, we are not going to just go ahead and say, tip workers, you get off scan free, while that they normally don't pay any taxes. Again, the important way to help tip workers is to make sure they get a living wage. Do you know some people that work at restaurants make $2 an hour purportedly because they get tips? Do you know also that one of the biggest anti-work policies passed by Trump actually said the following: employer who picks up those tips, they can, I repeat, they can use those tips as they see fit. They don't have to give, most of the tips these days are not collected in cash by the tip worker. They are collected by the person who, you fill out the credit card, you have a tip line, you put a tip on it. That doesn't automatically go to the worker. And Trump made it legal that tip doesn't belong to the worker. It belongs to the company, and they can choose to do what they wish with those tips. Did he say that when he passed the bill, when he talked about tip workers? He never said it. So let's not be fooled by the wordiology.
Let's not be fooled by the wordiology. All right. Of course, Mike Cisak, is going to have something to say. My dear brother Cisak says, Egberto is delusional about any kind of Democratic Party landslide. Biden barely squeaked by with massive fraud in 2020, and he was polling 7 points over Trump. Now, most polling has Trump in small lead, so that means Trump will likely win in a landslide. Let's correct the record. Actually, every major poll at this point, as of today, has Kamala Harris in the lead. Number two, Biden, that's false information that you have there. Biden, number one, won the popular vote by over $7 million. Anyone who follows American politics will qualify that as a landslide. When it came to electoral college, he won the same electoral college amount that Trump won, 307, I believe, to 240. I think somewhere in that vicinity. So he had a big cushion for the electoral college as well. That said, because we are in an anti-democratic country when it comes to electing the president, Hillary Clinton lost by more votes than Biden won in the electoral college, which was a squeaker. While Hillary Clinton lost by about 80,000 votes, Biden won by only about 40,000 votes. If we had a shift of 40,000 votes in the blue wall, we would have had President Trump, even after losing in a landslide 7 million plus votes. The anti-democratic. But that's what we live in. That's the game we have got to play in. All right, let's continue. Para ver qué más tengo aquí. I'm scrolling up now. Trump's first couple of years was coasting off of Obama's stellar economy. Once Trump's economic policies kicked in around 2019, the tax cuts for the rich, the insane tariffs leading to a trade war, his economy started to slow down in a recession, and that's before the pandemic came around. Where Trump, and I showed that in the graphs that I gave in the earlier message, where Trump completely botched the response using downplaying and lies. Once Biden came into office, he turned the economy around. people don't want to remember this history. People see the prices at the grocery store as if that's the only indication of how we were doing. And those prices in the grocery stores are caused directly by corporate greed. Let me tell you again. All, not some, all of inflation. I'm going a bit further than our friend in Congress, who claimed that who claimed that that it's only about, I think it was like 50% of inflation was caused by corporate greed. I am telling you, categorically, 100% of inflation was caused by corporate greed. And for those who are first tuning in today to my program, let me explain. There were several factors that caused inflation. The one that they like to talk about the most is supply chain, meaning we had a lot of shortages because of the supply chain coming from overseas. Number two, they like to claim that it was caused also by the oil crisis caused by not drilling enough in America, as well as the war in Ukraine. And three, they want to say it was Biden throwing too much money into the economy. I can debunk absolutely every single one of those items from a standard economic point of view. In other words, this isn't thinking out of the box. This is thinking out of how our economic system works today. I would like to change the way our economic system works. An economic system isn't divine. It is man-made. It is human-made. So we can change it. But under the current tenets of our economic system, all of inflation was caused by the private sector, by the corporate state. Here, first, let's start with the challenges caused by the supply chain. The only reason we had a supply chain to the problem to the extent of that we had it to create problems is because corporate greed said we're not going to make stuff we're not going to make cloth and textiles in the Carolinas anymore. We're going to send it off overseas. We're not going to create a lot of our products in America. We're going to send it off to China, Vietnam, and elsewhere. So therefore, we are going to ship a lot of our demand, what fulfill our demands overseas. By doing that, it means that we are very dependent on export or on imports, meaning we are very dependent on transportation. How do you get transportation? Through ships bringing containers into America. Now, when you have that lag in manufacture, shipping, and then going into the store, you must create something called inventory. Huge inventory to cover what? You should create inventories to cover the potential or possibility of hurricanes, the possibility of ships sinking, the possibilities of hurricanes beating up on ships, the possibility of pandemics, the possibility of strikes in the overseas areas where you're manufacturing. All of that dictates having to create large storage areas locally to prevent shocks to the system. But you know what? In order to get money themselves and not pay the Americans an American living wage, they created these offshore items. Now, what does that mean now? It's not the only thing that they did. They also started a process called just-in-time inventory. When everything works good, the executives look like geniuses, right? Because if as soon as something is manufactured in Korea, it goes on a container ship, gets to the shipyard in the container yard in LA, and it leaves the container yard in LA on a trail and gets to the Walmart or gets to all these other places, works perfectly. You don't have to pay for inventory. You don't have to pay storage. You don't have to pay any of those things. But again, because of the the greed, the evil of these executives, just-in-time inventory along with offshoring created the supply chain problem. And then who do they ask to pay for that? They ask us to pay the inflated prices for their screw-up. So who caused that part of the inflation? The corporate sector. Número dos, they said, oh, the oil because of the war in Russia or in Ukraine created a shock to the market. Biggest lie that there is. We never had a shortage of petroleum. You could always go to the gas station and buy gas, whether the price was high or not. They knew they could keep the price high, but I'm going to talk about why they could keep the price high after this year. But anyway, it was always a lie. America is drilling more today than under Trump or under any other president. We are the largest creator of oil, bar none. America is. The United States of America, that is. Okay? Now, the parts where the war was in Russia, in Ukraine, had nothing to do with the oil fields in Russia. Russia, even with sanctions, could still ship its oil. In fact, the sanctions of Russians should have reduced the price of oil. Why? Because China and India was buying oil from Russia at a discount because of the sanctions. But let's go a bit further. If China and Russia are buying oil on the Russian market at a discount, that means there's more oil on the Western market because China and India are buying less. And guess how we know that it's a fact that there was less oil, that they bought less oil and there was more oil on the market? Guess what? In the middle of these high prices, in the middle of this pandemic, guess what Saudi Arabia did? Saudi Arabia said, oh, the price, that there is a glut of oil in the market, not a shortage, a glut. So what are we going to do in Saudi Arabia? We are going to take away 2 million barrels of oil a day. They gave Biden hell because Biden said, okay, you guys are going to play with the market now. So what I have is something called a strategic reserve. I am to protect America with this strategic reserve. So I'm going to open that damn reserve up and throw oil onto the market. And then that kind of mitigates. And people say, well, he got about 40 or 50 days worth of oil. And if he does it right, he can really kind of mess with our stuff. And, but that oil price rise was corporate greed, not shortage. But guess what? Once you raise the price of oil, farming get more expensive. Trucking gets more expensive. All these things dependent on oil gets more expensive. As they get more expensive, those prices go on to the product you buy. And of course, Walmart didn't just put the extra price on. They tagged another little piece onto it. Corporate greed. The prices went up higher than their costs that they were giving all this free money to the oil companies. And the third part why inflation was allowed to fester was because of the stimulus. Biden threw a lot of money to prevent people from starving, put a lot of money to prevent people from feeling the pain of a mal-done pandemic that Trump allowed to occur. Had Trump stopped the pandemic by not making believe it's just a flu, it would have been a lot less worse than it was then. Now, so because the corporations knew that Americans had extra money in their pockets and that they were no longer spending that money on restaurants, etc., it means there are certain things they could raise their prices on because they knew Americans would still buy it. Why? Because they had money in their pockets. And as the tenet of capitalism says, it's very simple. Whatever the market will bear. It's an evil system. If you have money and we know you have money and we have a product that we know you want or must have, we can put the price as high as you are willing to pay or as you have money for said price. Again, folks, 100% of inflation was caused by corporate greed. Do not allow the narrative from the mainstream media. Do not allow the narrative from neoliberal economists from telling you otherwise. And by the way, I validated this entire narrative with several economists who are willing to go on the line and say, Brother Willies, you are right. Okay. So these are statements of fact. They are quantifiable and verifiable. Absolutely everything that I just told you about inflation. All right. We have one. Well, I'm not going to play the war piece. I'm going to go ahead and read. Paul Fleming says he did want to talk about the tip piece that I did with Kamala Harris. Well, I think we did. All right, let's see what else we got here. Bruce Fowler said the tip thing is tricky because it needs to be included in Social Security and health. That is correct. Income tax is separate from Social Security tax, is separate from Medicare tax. Even if you don't pay income tax, you pay Medicare tax on all of your income. You pay Social Security tax on up to 100, and I think it's up to like 140,000. Don't quote me there, but somewhere around there. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Wendy on your show this morning believes her facts of life under Orange Man are true. That's fine. She can believe it's true. That doesn't make it so. So it doesn't matter if she thinks it's true. It's simply not true. That is like saying, I think this water is cold, even though it's hot. Am I going to let my baby put if I'm going to let someone put their hand in boiling water because I don't think that is steam coming over the water. I think that is the vapor that occurs because of the differential in temperature of ice water. I'm not going to so I don't care if they think it's true. It's not. And if it's not, it's not. Yes, I'll try to get to you and try to talk to you, but it's not true. Why read it, SMH, Egberto medicine to the dead? Well, I just wanted to do a little piece of that one. All right, let's see what else we got here. Actually, tax cut did help the middle class. No, it did not. Let's see what else. You got the tax cut. Then because of the tax cut that caused the budget to increase, we had a bigger budget deficit. It caused, because of the way our system currently runs, interest rates to go up. Because interest rates go up, now you pay more for your credit card bills, and those credit card bill increase in prices are more so than it is the tax cut that you got. So it's the biggest lie you have from people that don't understand economics. Period. Punto y final. All right, let's see what else we got here. Egberto, Willies, Bernie Sanders warns Donald Trump is gearing up to deny 2024 election. This is what undermining democracy is all about. This is what fascism is about. The Vermont senator said of Trump lies about Kamala Harris crowd size. Senator Bernie Sanders issued a striking warning on Tuesday by lying about the size of Kamala Harris campaign events. Donald Trump is gearing up to deny 2024 results. The Vermont senator weighed in after Trump falsely claimed over the weekend that Harris uses artificial intelligence. Exactly. Donald Trump may be crazy, but he's not stupid when he claims that nobody has showed up to the 10,000 person Harris Walz rally in Michigan. That was live streamed and widely covered by the media. That is all. The Democrats cheat all the time. Let me tell you what. The good thing about it is right now, the president is in fact Biden. So Biden's will be ready when if the MAGA thugs come over to the Capitol again. He will be ready to take care of business. So let them come. The problem would have been if he was still in power and still had the control of the military under his grasp. It will be Biden. So again, we ought to be careful that these guys are going to come and do the thuggish behavior that they did before, but we will be ready for them. All right, let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Tom Zarnik has a limerick. So we close with a limerick, and it goes like this. J.D. Vance doesn't care for the childless cat lady. Thinks she should have a bunch of kids like Mrs. Brady. J.D. has many words that are bitter. They're like turds in a box of litter. The man with the beard is just plain weird. He often acts like a cat who's scrawny and fraidy. I always love what our poet laureate, Tom Zarnik has to say. And Tom closes the show with the perfect laureate. Persuasive Barrier is in the house. Welcome aboard, Persuasive Barrier. Before I close, I do want to salute people that I did before. So Mike Cisak, welcome aboard. Persuasive Barrier, welcome aboard. Tom Zarnick, welcome aboard. Eric Hayes, welcome aboard. I didn't call you out before. I also want to call out, I saw some others in here. Stygen Bergen Greek, welcome aboard. I also want Bruce Pollard. I think I called you out already, Bruce. Let's see who else we've got here that I didn't call out. I'm scrolling up. I want to, I like to call out our folk, all of you, love all of you. Alizarin Dreams, welcome aboard. May Wood, welcome aboard. Jay Ray, I even though we spoke in person, I don't think I called you out. So our brother Ray, welcome aboard. I don't think I see anybody else. If I missed you, drop a note in the link in the chat real quick, and I'll get to you. I called out Lee Grant already. Let's see if there's anybody else I didn't call out. Bruce says we need to separate the MAGA people that predate Trump from the Trump fanatics. Yeah. No, I think Bruce has a point there. I think he has an important point there. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But anyway, I got to get out of here, folks. First, I want to tell you, love you all. Please remember, go visit our site at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. We do need your support. So I ask you kindly, once again, my dear brothers and sisters, please support this program. This is 16 hour a day, 7 days a week endeavor. So please support us. Today, I'm going to ask one support way. If you have the wherewithal to do so, please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And please become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. If you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, you get access to all of my books. Hey, Persuasive Barrier, thank you so kindly. He says, pure character attaching his arms forward, raising his thumbs up. Thank you so kindly for your super chat, Persuasive Barrier. I want to go to show you what you get from from subscribing to our newsletter. I want to show you this real quickly. Bear with me a second here. This is what you get. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you get access to all the pieces that I write every day, right? In a concrete form without any ads. And also, I don't have it on the screen. Here is a kicker. You get to access all of the books I've already written. And not only that, but you get to come and access every single one of my books that I have. This is the online version for our Substack users. Like, let's go to As I See It. There are all the chapters of the As I See It. You can read it right from your phone or here at the site. So all members, everybody who subscribe, who are paid subscribers to it, can get to our books. That's As I See It. Here's another one. It's worth it. It's worth it. Or not it's worth it, but How to Make America Utopia. You get to read all our books. And, so again, all of my current books and future books, all subscribers to my newsletter, Egberto Off the Record, will get access to read all the books. You don't have to purchase it unless you want to purchase a hard copy that I sign and send to you. So please consider going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I'm putting it out there again, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and say it. Our brother E2247 is in the house, and he has the new numbers. Day 312 of the war, at least 39,929 Palestinians killed. That's 32 persons more than day 311. At least 92,240 wounded, 88 persons per day. And again, it is just horrendous. It is just horrendous. All right, I got to get out of here. Please subscribe to the newsletter. Please do so today if you can. I am trying to get over 1,000. I'm only at 150 something. I'd love to get there this year. I'd love to get to 1,000 this year. It'll help us get our stuff done. Again, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.